I'm going to talk about this phrase, I don't see color. And the reason why I believe it became a problem for this woman, and for some people, is because it's used as a comfort blanket. It's used as something that is tangible, that one can hold on to. And as a result of that, say, here, see me. This is what, I don't see color. You're the same as me. I'm not the same as you. Like how you're not the same as me. That doesn't translate to you're less than me or I'm less than you. So with this particular woman that I was so annoyed with, that was her comfort blanket. And when I pulled it away, she then had to defend why she needed to keep onto that blanket. And it made no sense to me. Because if somebody whom you claim to be supporting has said this particular thing that you do doesn't make me feel supported, why would you continue to do it? Is it about you or is it about them? Is it about you or is it about them? And I proceeded to give the example, when I was bereaved, and people would say it as well. You know what? I hated it. And after a while, I was tired of closing my mouth, like how I've been tired of closing my mouth, listening to people say, I don't see color. And I felt, well, now, if I know I don't like it, I've got a responsibility to say why I don't like it and articulate it so that they understand. Because like I said, not everybody uses that phrase to be fake or to just ride on the coattails of pretending to be supportive. It degenerated, as I said, from there, because she was highly offensive and extremely disrespectful. And I would assume that's the reason why, having done that video at, stupid o'clock in the morning, as to why it's done the rounds as much as it has. So I want to just talk about certain things as to why Black people are tired. We're tired. And what you saw in that video was me being tired. I was tired of being a woman of 48, nearly 49 years of age, and having to always dodge that bullet of the stereotype so that I could maintain my respect. I was tired. And because I was tired, it came out as raw and as passionate and as offended and as angry as I felt. And I make no apologies for it, not even slightly. I haven't introduced my faithful assistant, Yaba Dabadoo. So Yaba, thank you very much for joining the show. Yaba will be reading out your comments and your questions. Do forgive me for my manners, Yaba. I'm sure she will deal with me once the camera stops rolling. Any comments?
Jacqueline Pienim says, I don't see color is used by people to make white people feel better about themselves and to convince themselves that they aren't racist or prejudiced without going deeper.
I agree.
Hoja Cisse says, I have many white friends and acquaintances who, like you, said they know their privilege and are also very supportive. Some don't really understand.
True. And great for those that are supportive. And I would hope that those that don't understand will make it their business to try and understand.
Yemisi Parker says, it's so offensive to hear that. How can you possibly not see color? Am I invisible?
Well,
am I see-through? So insulting.
Yeah. I felt invisible. I feel invisible when anyone says, I don't see color. I feel insignificant. I feel irrelevant. I feel that you erase everything that it means to be Black. It just doesn't work for me. Any more?
Yes, actually, Charlene Efra Apia says, we love you, Yapa.
Now, I will stop this broadcast because me and Charlene have spoken and she has said that she is going to make everybody love Yaba more than me. So Charlene, I'm going to block you. Please carry on, Yaba.
Shai says, the woman's last words came across like she's doing Black people a favor.
That's why I lost my temper. Well, this one white girl that was sticking up for you. I'm like, no, darling. What you stick up for is for humanity. You stick up for what you know is being done wrong, and you take a stance to make sure the right thing is done. But the moment you single me out, it means that your support is conditional. If you like me, then you will support me. But you're not supporting me because you're doing the right thing or it's the right thing to do. So no, that was not the kind of support that we need at all.
Jacqueline Penny says, we are tired of having to package our frustrations and our response to systemic racism only in a way that is acceptable to white people.
And that leads me on to my next point. Now, either you've used this phrase before or you've heard it before, oh, you're just pulling the race card. Now, I'm going to start from this point and we're going to progress on to what the original angle for, Black Lives Matter, our understanding of it actually is. But when I hear that phrase, that you're pulling the race card, the fact of the matter is, it's the only card we were given. The system and society and white people in the society in which we live, as to why we're accused of pulling that race card, you hold the whole deck of cards. We've only got the one card. You hold the whole pack of cards. You've got the ace, you've got the king, you've got the queen, you've got the jack. We don't even have the two, which is the lowest denominator other than the joker. But the joke is on us. So when we're told that you're just pulling the race card, what you do is you completely negate and disregard everything that person is trying to tell you is going wrong so that you don't have to do anything. It's called gaslighting. That is racial gaslighting. Racial gaslighting. It's all in your head. Oh, are you sure that George Floyd, it was racially motivated? I mean, it was just, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. Because we know what it's like. We know what it's like. Oh, you just got a chip on your shoulder. Why would a black person just have a chip on their shoulder for the hell of it? Like we're not proud of who we are. Like we're all walking around on this planet feeling really insecure and, insignificant. Do I look like a woman who's got a chip on her shoulder? I don't think so. These are broad shoulders. Trust me, there ain't no chips in them. There are no chips in this shoulder. Not on this one or on that one. There's no chips on this shoulder. But we've constantly and consistently and persistently been pushed into a corner not to be able to speak our truth, where we have to pretend to be okay, where we have to water down our narrative in order not to offend. Because the moment we open our mouths, racial gaslighting is sure to follow. It doesn't matter how clear-cut a situation or a circumstance is. The fact that it's black against white, just take it even in an office environment. I shared with you my experience being, a black child in a school in Essex, and how no matter what was done to me, it was always my fault. Didn't matter. You could slap me in the face. You could, I don't think I mentioned in that video, I'm not sure, where I was playing marbles. Those of you that are as old as me and live in England, you know what marbles is. I think in Ghana, no, alikoto is, do you know what alikoto is?
Nope.
Well, she's a posh child, so she wouldn't know what alikoto is. But anyway, for those of us that are a little bit more exposed, I think it's similar to marbles. I'm not sure. I know you play it on the ground, and I was playing on my own, and this boy, Peter, I'll never forget their names, he came along, and just because he could, he just stamped on my fingers. I think he received a couple of slaps because I just refused to ever be bullied. They used to come in groups to try and beat me up, and I would wait for them one by one and give them a smack. I just don't do victim. And I was told to apologize to him. And I was like, no, I'm not going to apologize because it was his fault. So I was threatened with having my break time taken away from me. I was fine with that. I didn't really care. So we went to the headmaster's office. He was busy, so we were sat outside. And I said to him, look, you were playing football. So if you want to go and play football, you apologize to me first. And he said, sorry. And I said, so you should, because it was your fault anyway. And I was a lot more cockney then. It was your fault anyway. And then I just left. And that was that. I just refused to ever let them break me, even as a young child. And it's funny because I was thinking about my brother earlier on, and I actually phoned him before doing the show. And when I was small, we were looked after. My mum doesn't know this. I don't think I've actually told her. We were being looked after by this white childminder, and she had a few of us kids there. And she would always give the white children ice cream. She would never give us any. And one day it really pissed me off. Now I was, it was preschool, so I must have been about 4. Yeah, but I haven't told you the story. I was about, I was 4 because I was one of the youngest to be in school because my birthday's 11th August. So yes, I couldn't have been more than 3.5, 4. And she wouldn't give me any ice cream. And she did this all the time. And she would hit us as well. So I said to her that I wanted to go to the toilet, that I needed to do a poo, as you do when you're little. So I got to the toilet, and don't judge me, I pooed on the floor. Yeah, but I did. I pooed on the floor because I was only little, and I couldn't express to her how unfair I thought it was that all the other kids got ice cream and I didn't. And I was pissed. So I pooed on the floor in the toilet, and I did that on purpose because see color, it makes us feel irrelevant. It needs to just stop right there. It doesn't need to be analyzed. And that's why I use the example when I lost my husband and people kept saying to me, it is well. Now, being a Christian, it's that phrase comes from a story in the Bible where a lady lost her child, and the prophet, who used to whom she used to host, she informed that her child had died, but she said to him, it is well. He didn't say to her. She assessed her situation. And I think in order just to recenter, it was like, I'm okay. It's not for you to tell me I'm okay. And that is why when I was bereaved and people kept saying to me, it is well, I'm like, it is not well. There is nothing well about this situation. I don't want to hear it. And if you are telling me that to comfort me and I don't feel comforted, what is your reason for proceeding to say it? Is it about me or is it about you? Because if it's about you and you're not willing to learn and to understand and take into consideration how it's making me feel, then don't talk to me. Likewise with I don't see color. You need to see color. That's why there's a Black Lives Matter movement, not I don't see color movement or don't see color movement. We are black. And because of it, there are many ills that we suffer. And as much as, and that's why I said that there are people that say, I don't see color, and it's not said from a bad place. It's not said from a place of dismissiveness. But regardless, it doesn't feel good. And that's why I'm saying that the conversations have to be had to educate so that we understand. Because it shouldn't be about justifying the word. It should be where at least for me, at times I recognize it's not coming from a bad place. The person just doesn't know. A very, very, very good friend of mine who, is married to a black lady made that comment, I don't see color. And I said to him, so-and-so, that comment right there? And he was like, I got you. I can assure you, black people, I haven't yet met one black person that's indifferent to that comment, I don't see color, not one. So if it doesn't feel good for us, we don't need to hear it. And, I just have to be that plain about it because this is about having really honest and open conversations. And I thank you for asking the question and giving me an opportunity to, explain it on this video because it is on the last one. Yes.
Okay. AC Nedo says, Africans don't have a clue about racism. I have a Ghanaian cousin who lives in Ghana. She doesn't notice security guards following us around Selfridges. She thinks I am imagining things and says I am troublesome in Tunu.
Yep.
She makes me out to be the bad person.
Okay, we're going to try and speed it up a bit. Now, when you're saying about Africans not understanding about race,
Hello, beautiful people. This is Doug Leonard with MastrMynd Group, and I'm rebroadcasting Dillis Silla. And she's a wonderful Ghanaian lady who I love dearly. So go ahead and tune in. This is about us and for us. And I love you guys, and this is to improve our situation and to build a network where we can join together and feel free to discuss our issues without being reprimanded by a group who may or may not understand. So again, this is Doug Leonard, MastrMynd Group, bringing you the best of beautiful blackness. Tune in, you guys.
tribal groups, a war that went on for 3 months and between 500,000 to 1 million people lost their lives. The kind of evil that was exacted amongst themselves was unbelievable. That's the closest that some of us Africans are going to get to understanding what racism feels like, a little bit, not totally. Because the whole structure within our countries doesn't marginalize a particular group because of their tribe. to the extent that you will find the system is against black people in countries like America and the UK and other parts of the world. That's the closest that I can get in being able to explain what it looks like. And I think until we come to a place where we start to question how we behave amongst ourselves within our home countries, only then will we begin to have some idea of what racism actually means. And that is why, and somebody made a reference to the fact that, you know, certain people still support Donald Trump. The Africans that support Donald Trump, or the black people predominantly that support Donald Trump, who are, at least Africans that I'm aware of, more in Nigeria than here, is because they don't understand racism. Because they've never had to live that life. They don't understand it. The same way being black in the UK is different from being black in America. Now, it took me a long time to even recognize that. Because before, and I'm an honest person, I used to say, oh, these Americans, sometimes they just really go overboard with the whole race thing. I had to shut my mouth. I had to close my mouth. When I started frequenting the States and seeing it firsthand for myself, I'm like, now I get it. I thought, now I get it. Being black in America is different from being black in England. But I am not saying being black in England is easy. So when you've got your prime minister, maybe when I get back to England, I might refer to him as my prime minister, but he's an idiot, can say that there is no racism in the UK, I think that's just nonsense. It is nonsense. Now, I've still got quite a lot to go through. And, you know, as I'm saying that, we don't understand what people are going through in America that has obviously spilled over to all over the world, or most parts of the world. You've got people that are basically splitting hairs about, well, the Black Lives Matter. You've had Nick Farage, I mean, the biggest, I can't use that word, biggest unintelligent human being that I've come across in recent times, saying that, you know, it was a movement that was set up to be able to bring down police departments. Like I said, miss me with that mess, because that's nonsense. And you see, and even if that's what you believe is where it came from, what is the message that is going out there? That Black Lives Matter. And people, in their ignorance, in their stupidity, in their inability to be able to decipher simple, information and apply it, well, all lives matter. We know that, dumbasses. That's why we had to bring it to your attention that Black Lives Matter. Because in your, well, all lives matter, clearly ours don't. Maybe it would have been better if the movement had been called Black Lives Matter too. In that case, no one would be able to argue, you know? But the issue is being able to be open-minded and say, you know, how is it for you? What does it feel like? And have that dialogue, and not just have the dialogue, be open to listen and to hear. So for those people that are predominantly, living in Africa, whichever part, and haven't traveled, and you hear this stuff going on and thinking that, yeah, it's all in their head, check out what tribe you come from. And then compare yourself with somebody who is in another tribe and see how it is. We have it in Ghana. We're very tribalistic, not as bad as the Nigerians. You know, where the Igbo people are made out to always be the villain of the piece, as well as those in the north and the Yoruba. It's a mess. But guess what? Step out of Nigeria, go to the States, go to any white country, you're just a regular nigger. They ain't going to ask you what tribe you're from. Britain First don't really care what tribe you're from before they decide that because you're black, you're less than. They don't care. And yes, there is something to be said about our own issues. And people sometimes will pipe up, yeah, but what about black on black crime? Well, what about it? If you are a black person, statistically, you're more likely to get murdered by who? A black person. If you're white and you're murdered, you're more likely to be murdered by a white person. When did we buy into this bullshit, mind my French, of holding on to some of these narratives and applying it and deflecting from the real issue at hand? And that is why you have people like Candace Owen, who are every racist dream. But we shouldn't be deterred by that, because even during slavery times, you had people that would go and tell on fellow slaves to the slave master that that slave is running away. And it's one of their own. This is nothing new. Even during the Holocaust, you had certain Jews that would go and run to the Germans and report some of the Jews that were trying to escape. There's nothing new. There's nothing new about it. So when you see the Candace Coconut Owens popping up, why are we so surprised? Listen to her. Haven't you heard of an intelligent fool before? You know, this is a female, this is Auntie Tom. Don't let it dissuade you. Because she sat there making this foolish video about how George Floyd was not to be celebrated as a hero and martyred. Being a martyr, isn't that just like basic English in terms of being able to find out what that definition is and apply it? He didn't know that he was going to die that day. He hadn't planned to die for the cause of any black person. He just had a check. He just needed to go about some business. And then she goes on to say that, yes, well, he was high and he had drugs and his criminal past. I'm not being funny. He wasn't in prison. You know, there's people that are actually in prison who've committed crimes are in prison. So why don't we just go to prison, just bomb them and kill them all? Because, at least there's evidence and proof that they really are currently criminals. So whichever way you turn it, what she's saying is nonsense. But that doesn't have to be something that we give too much airtime. Rose, or whatever her name is, where is she today? Candace Owen will have her time. You know, she's irrelevant. And for all the non-blacks who are hailing her just because she is a traitor and she's a liar and she's a fraud, because this is not the same Candace Owens that took one of her educational institutions to court and won the equivalent of, I think, £30,000 for racism. So she's just trash. So, you know, I don't think we need to really give her that much airtime. But you see, the problem that where this started, and the reason why I sincerely believe that if we don't make changes, or if nothing changes right now, I personally don't believe it will ever change, is because we've had so many opportunities, but none quite like this. This didn't start with George Floyd. But it should end with George Floyd. When Rodney King was beaten on camera, okay, those days there wasn't any Facebook or anything like that, no body cams, but there was a video that filmed his assault. And those policemen got off. It was only after the LA riots that their backside was sort of dealt with. But from Rodney King, when did Rodney King happen? In the 90s. In the 90s. We are 2020. There has been enough time and opportunity to address this. Trayvon Martin's, that's how Black Lives, matter. I think that's when they formed. This was from, there've been so many opportunities for change, and it's not happened. You know, and this is why in my video I was saying that it was so important that we have honest conversations. We can't keep pretending that we are okay. When I was recounting what happened to me at the age of 8, I did get emotional. And it was only at that point that I realized that I had suppressed a lot of what I have been through, not just as a child. Like I said, I don't contract anymore. I don't contract. I used to do local authority. I don't contract anymore. And I've contracted in many of them. But the abuse, I used to work, at some point, I used to work in Barking and Dagenham. Now, those of you who are in England, Barking and Dagenham is a very racist area. Now it's been flooded with quite a few black people, so I don't think it's as racist as it was. Now, when I started working in Barking and Dagenham, they changed the name to Barking and Blackenham because too many black people had started working there. I'd had enough of it. Thursday night, I had just had enough of it. I was tired of pretending I was okay. I was tired of pretending that when certain things are said that I'm okay with it. I'm tired of being the bigger person. I'm not the bigger person. I'm the person that doesn't want to be labeled. I'm the person that doesn't want to be bypassed. I'm the person that does not want to be treated like I don't exist. I just was not prepared that night to allow myself once again. And you see, the reason why now people are speaking is because we now feel that it is safe to do so, safer than it's ever been. That is the only reason why this level of conversation is happening. It's the only reason why. Maybe before George Floyd, I would never have either made that video or been that angry. But everything has been suppressed and suppressed and suppressed and suppressed. You know, we're labeled as being aggressive, being angry. You know what? So what if we're angry? So what if we're aggressive? Do we not have the right to? And I'm saying that as black people, as Africans, we need to start to be honest with how we treat people that are from different tribes to us, to kind of at least have some kind of parallel to what racism feels like for your African counterparts when we are in America or in England or wherever. Because when you come over and you come and work in the office with us, you become the token Uncle Tom. You are the ones that the white people know that they can take the piss out of because you carry that chip on your shoulder. Because there is still that reverence of white people in Africa. And it's just a fact. It's only those of us that are traveled or, you know, live in England or are born in England that it's different in how we relate and how we manage ourselves. But for those who've just come over and they come into the office for the first time, they don't understand the nuances around some of the things that are said and done. They don't understand. So when they're making these certain comments like, oh, you're being aggressive, they won't know that that's a term that is used on every black person that has the audacity to express any form of distaste or upset. They won't get it because that's not their first language. English is my first language. So I get it. I get it as a so-called black British, and I say so-called because I never refer to myself as black British. I always refer to myself as Ghanaian. Yes, I was born in Ilford. That's just whatever. But I am a Ghanaian. So I get it from that perspective. I get it as an African. I get it as somebody born in England in the 70s. I get it. I get it. Even as a kid walking into the sweet shop, you are the one that's going to. This just popped into my head. I remember my dad going with me to Boots, and he had to get me a swimming cap because we'd started swimming. And this woman looked at my father like he was a piece of shit. And he was standing in the queue to be served. And she called the lady behind my dad and served her rather. Ignored my dad. My father's a gentleman. Well, it's lucky it wasn't my mother because, trust me, she'd have eaten that till. But my dad is a very, very calm and placid human being. Very, very calm. He's a real gentleman. But I saw the hurt on my dad's face. I couldn't have been more than about 8. I'm 48 years of age. I just remembered that story as I'm speaking to you guys now. And I remember seeing the hurt on my dad's face. And he just stood there, completely humiliated. Comments?
Ifwa Duku says, I learned recently from a great friend of mine, Dr. Amwa, that lack of cultural intelligence is stupidity. And yes, these guys probably have no idea of this. Zara May says, this racism is not just between black and white. Sadly, Caribbean people treat African people with such contempt, as they somehow believe that an accent makes them superior. Anita Agri says, I was once mocked and told by a white colleague that my people used to own your people. I was so shocked that I couldn't speak.
I curse the day that I'm so shocked that I can't speak. It's just ridiculous.
Missy Parker says, there's an issue that may be uncomfortable, but I need to speak about it. Colorism. Where somehow light-skinned black...
Okay, can I hold it there? Keep that comment, because I want us to really stick to the topic at hand. It's really important. And I am going to do something on colorism. Most definitely, but not today. So please don't be offended. But it's really important that we talk about this particular divide between black and white. We will definitely, without a doubt, you could hold me to it, I am going to do an episode on colorism, because it is very important. And check out my skin color. I am not light-skinned. Trust me, I get colorism. Yes.
Okay, Hoja Sise says,
hot.
we, the African migrants, may not feel racism the same way as the UK-born and brought-up black person, or worse still, America. Therefore, we should be supportive and avoid being dismissive.
Right. And she's right. And this is what I'm saying, that the closest that you can get to educating people, Africans who are now in the diaspora, is to draw those parallels between tribes. That one, they'll get it. Believe you me, there'll be no confusion there. They will get it. You know?
Barry At says, Gillis, I am a black person that grew up in the UK and have had all the experiences you have had. You seemed to think that you were answering a white person. He's the one who asked the question about the...
To be honest with you, whether you're black or white is irrelevant to me. I don't find it acceptable, that term, I don't see color. So I don't really mind who is saying it. I think I'd probably be more offended if it came from a black person, to be honest. I just don't like that phrase. I don't like how it makes me feel. I really don't.
Zara May says, the only way these guys will understand is that once upon a time, the ancestors traveled to Africa and took gold, diamonds, and not to mention whole human beings as slaves. Fast forward to today, the children's children are now shocked that those African children's children are all here, and America is trying to make something for themselves. All here in America, trying to make something for themselves, enjoying the wealth which was stolen many years ago. All we are doing is enjoying our wealth from a different postcode. How come no one ever says, oh, if we had not colonized these people and taken slaves, we wouldn't have this problem today? No one.
Well, the thing is, when you say problem, are the people who are still subjugating black people, do they see it as a problem? We're an inconvenience. Because look at Windrush. You call people to come over to your country, say, help us build this country. They do the dirty work, and then you send them back with nothing. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's tiring. It's really, 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 really tiring. And like I said, I think we've just come to a point where we're just tired. We don't want to have to play this game anymore. We don't want to pretend that we're okay. But, you know, I want to kind of really go on quickly to what I think some of the solutions could be. Allow us to speak our truth without apology. Allow us to speak our truth. And, you know, like I said, the fact that you're black doesn't mean that maybe you don't need educating. The fact that you're white and you have mixed race children doesn't mean that you don't need educating. You know, depends on what we have been exposed to. I mean, I had a conversation with somebody not too long ago saying, you know, when they're in an office and they're passed over for promotion, they don't automatically think it's because they're black. Well, Of course not. That would be dumb and stupid, wouldn't it? And I'm not suggesting that, you just decide, oh, it's because I'm black. That's just stupidity. But when you have gone through that, you've taken that quiet moment and you've looked at the fact that you trained this person to whom they have just given this post to, and you hold more credentials than they do, you have more experience, and the only thing that you have is that it's a white colleague, I will leave that for you to decide. But for me, allow us to speak our truth without apology, without being afraid of being honest and saying, I don't mean to be whatever, but what you said, no, I was angry. You upset me by saying that. It was wrong. Call it out. Call it out for what it is. Stand up for yourself. I'm not being funny. When I made that video, I only did the video because I could not articulate all my emotions in a written post. And it was late and I couldn't be bothered to write. I felt it was necessary and it was appropriate for people to see the effect of those words on me and that attitude of the one white girl that stuck up for you. I was incensed. And I felt it was important that I express that. Now, I needed not to feel that I had to refine, modify, or polish my message. And because I was honest, I allowed other people to be honest. I joined this group, Black Lives Matter London. Apart from one idiot in there, I don't know what the hell he's doing there. Everybody else has been absolutely phenomenal. Some of them are watching now. Some of them have inboxed me. And one lady, she said, when you said in your video that you are a black African woman, it might seem like a silly question, but what does it feel like? What do you mean? I was so blessed by her asking me that question. And I told her that, I gave her a bit of my history. I was born in Ilford, came to school in Ghana for secondary education. But I said that my great-great aunt on my father's side from Ejusu is Yasantua. So those of you that are Ghanaian, it might explain why I'm so fiery. But she's my great-great aunt on my father's side. And I actually said to my parents that when I come back to London, when I get back to England, I'm going to record our history so that I can have it documented and I can share that. I may write another book at some point, I'm not sure. Possibly, who knows. But I needed to do what I did and be as open, because what it did, the number of white people that have come to me and said, speak your truth, I see you, it blesses my heart. It blesses my heart. Because for those of you that know me, I'm not racist. And this bullcrap that black people can't be racist is nonsense. The effects of racism isn't as impactful, but it's not the impact that makes it racist, yeah? So go and read the definition of what racism is. I'm not racist. But I will call out whatever is not right, whether it's a black person doing it or a white person doing it. And we have to come to the table and be able to sit together and be honest and say, okay, I thought this about you. And the other person comes and say, well, I thought this about you. And that once you get to know me, you realize that actually we have a lot in common. This might be slightly off topic, but I'm going to share it anyway. A few years ago, there was this program that was done to find wives, I think, for 3 princes. One prince was from South Africa, one was from somewhere in Europe, I can't remember, and one was Indian. Now, the Indian guy happened to be gay, and the South African guy was completely not having it. Couldn't get his head around how 2 men could be in a relationship. Now, they had to live together. I don't know how long for. This is going back a really long time ago. And all I will say is that by the end of the program, they were like brothers. It's okay to have prejudice. It's okay. However, it's only okay to have prejudice when you have no information to allow you to think differently. I used to train in customer services. And one of the things that I used to use as an example in changing mindsets was about race. That you may have an impression about something or somebody. Having that impression of itself is not wrong. But the moment you have evidence to the contrary, and you still hold on to that idea, that's when you need to check yourself. That's when there's a problem. So my point is, we have to be able to be honest and come together and have these conversations and ask your black colleague. So what does it feel like being in an office like I was in Southend-on-Sea and being the only black person? I mean, personally, I'm never uncomfortable in any situation. That's just me. I'm a bit hardcore, so I didn't really care. Like I said, for me, my mindset was I need to represent my people very well. So for me, it was not a problem. I was in my trademark 5-6 inch heels, and I was doing my thing. It wasn't a problem for me. But there are many people that I know that will say, if I go to a place and there aren't any black people, I feel uncomfortable. We need to ask why. Why should you? Why should you feel uncomfortable? So coming back to the solutions, like I said, admit what's going on. Stop saying, are you sure it's not just? No. I am sure. I know how I'm being treated. Stop trying to tell me that it's all in my head. Stop telling us it's our imagination. Stop saying that, are you sure George Floyd, died as a result of a racially motivated attack, and that it wasn't just the fact that there was just bad policing. Miss me with that mess. Miss me with that mess. Miss me with that mess. Call it out for what it is. Because unless we call it out for what it is, we in no way, shape or form can address it. We cannot. As far as I'm concerned, that is racial gaslighting. That is the new term, racial gaslighting. Doing it and then pretending it's all in your head or that it didn't happen. That's racial gaslighting, and it's got to stop. I've also put down here, be prepared to speak up when you see the injustice. Don't just walk on by. Don't be on that panel where that person has qualified for that promotion and that job and stay silent because you don't want to be unpopular. Leona Lewis's video, I don't know if you've seen it, where she talks about going into a shop to go and buy something in Chelsea, and this stupid racist shop owner or sales assistant or whatever she was doing in the shop refused to serve her, actually demanded that she put down what she was holding to pay for because she didn't recognize her. But what Leona Lewis was saying is that other people left the shop in disgust, but what they didn't do was call that woman out. It is not enough to just be disgusted. It is not enough to just be upset. It's not enough. What we need is for you to say something. In my field of, raising awareness on gender-based violence, I know how it feels when a man comes alongside and says, right, this has got to stop. Our men have to do better. I know how it feels. I know how it feels. So likewise, when you see an injustice being done, say something. Don't just sit there and be like, well, I don't approve, but don't stand by and do nothing, because you're part of the problem if you do. You're definitely not part of the solution. Most certainly not. Create space for black people. And I think this has been like a common, trend throughout what I've been saying. Create space for black people so that we can speak. That it's okay for us to speak. Yeah? Without the judgment, without the labels. I remember, again, working in Islington Council. And my manager used to say, he used to do with this impression. What did he used to do? It was like, don't you think I do a great impression of a black girl? Because he wasn't English. You can tell from the accent where he was. Don't you think I do a great impression of a black girl? And I had to say to him, do you see me behave like that? But that's the impression. I was a professional working in his office, articulate, well-spoken, educated, but that was his impression of a black girl. He's never seen me behave like that. He has never seen me behave like that. Create a safe space for black people. And you know, it's not that difficult. If we wanted to solve racism, we could. 50 years ago, I would say as recent as that, or even no, come on, I'm 48. Let's say 40 years ago. It was completely unacceptable to be gay. To be a gay man was the most disgusting, despicable, revolting thing that you could be known as. However, as time went on, people realized that gay people were just people. So what happened? Education on the fact that gay people are just people started to creep in. Where did it creep in? Media, TV, radio, plays, films. That was what was used to make something that was so repulsive acceptable. Are you telling me that we couldn't solve racism the same way? Are you really telling me we could not? That we could not solve racism the same way by educating? We absolutely could. But because there is a benefit, and that's why we talk about white privilege, because there is a benefit to keeping the status quo, we won't do anything about it. Now, you know, I'm studying social science, and, you know, there's two groups of people. You know, with identity, you have your own personal identity and you have a social identity. And we have what we call a marked and unmarked identity. An unmarked identity typically would be a middle-class white male. There is nothing negative attached or associated with his person. Then you have a marked identity. That could be like a homeless person or certain ethnic groups. So those of you that are unmarked, you need to take your eraser and start to change. And you know, I'm so glad that I've only started studying this, and I'm sure that my next year, I'm sure the books are going to have to be rewritten, because I would hope to see that what we're studying in terms of social structures, that the racism element and the social identity element is going to be looked at. And I'm telling you, if we want to change the face of racism globally, you just need to teach the freaking kids. You just need to teach the children. I go to a white child's house and I'm told, you got to leave because my dad doesn't like black people. Notice, she would play with me. The problem is us, the adults that contaminate and defile the hearts and the minds of children. We can solve this really easily with just education. And stop ticking boxes. Stop ticking boxes for minority groups. Oh, well, you know, there's mostly men, but actually we'll have a few women so that it looks good. We'll have a few black people so it looks good. We'll have a few gays so it looks good. Stop all of that. All of that needs to stop, because the media made it their business to address homosexuality in a way that it would become acceptable. And they were fortunate. And the difference between gay people and the struggle is not the same. So I'm not making the comparison in that sense, because it's not. You know, the parallels that I am drawing and why it's slightly different is because you have gay people that can reach the heights of success in any industry that they want without being marginalized. Steve Jobs wasn't straight. So you have people who are gay in the film, music industry, you know, multi-million, billion-dollar industries that they control. Unfortunately, as black people, we haven't been able to have that level of influence And again, if you ever study social science, and I really do believe that social science should be taught in schools, that there are structures. We talk about making and creating lives. You know, people make comments like, you know, life is what you make it. Is it really? Depending on what you are born into and what is even happening economically at the time of your birth or even during your lifetime, how you make your life, and I am using a bit of jargon here, how you make your life isn't entirely up to you. The people in Syria that were being bombed, when Iraq was being bombed, you can't say life is what you make it, because there is a structure in place now that has disempowered the people. We've been disempowered for a long time. Repatriations do need to be made for the things that have been stolen. Only then does the sorry mean something. Only then does it mean something. How else can we solve this problem? I would say for white people, go and learn about black history, not what's been whitewashed. Go and read about the number of black inventors, some of the stuff that you enjoy, like the lawnmower, light bulb. Go and read about black inventors and take down this name, Jane Elliott. Go and study Jane Elliott's work, because she is a sister and a half, because she gets it. She really gets it. Start with, you know, writing to your local MPs and demanding that those statues be pulled down. There's nothing to be proud of. Nothing to be proud of at all. Yabs?
But
You need to like maybe read them real quick.
because we've already done an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Malcolm Pryor says, I have always seen color and appreciate the wide range of color. It is an intrinsic part of humanity's rich tapestry. Too many white people fail to understand or refuse to recognize the reason why the Black Lives Matter came about, and that black people experience prejudice constantly, and the Prime Minister's statement is totally...
It was just nonsense.
Leona Lewis recently spoke of an incident where she and her father were subjected to racism until the individual was told who she was. When she became profusely apologetic, too late. She was judging the person for what she was. Georgina Hanmore Cattenhorn says silence is no longer an option. We all need to speak up.
Absolutely.
Anita Abri says we have absolutely every right to be angry, yet most importantly, we continue to love. Mavis Ajekum says, when your boss tells you how come you speak so well and you're from Africa.
Oh God, I get that all the time.
I had to educate him because he probably didn't know. And sometimes it's because our people only show them the poor parts of Africa. Racism is cancer that needs to be cured for good. Diane Ejejemfi says, I have had colleagues say to me, D, you need to learn how to play the game among white colleagues. I'm always responding, what game? What game? I'm here to work, I'm not here for games. But you know what, I get it. But I struggle with this game. I keep it real. Freddie Inketia says, people need to educate themselves. So for starters, make African history part of the school curriculum.
We might have to start a petition for that and put it, yeah, that's a good point. And, you know, it's funny because one of the things that I'd written down was that maybe it would be very good for white people to go and read about colonialism and, you know, some of the most barbaric, you know, the Butcher of Belgium, who would cut off the hands of children and their feet and put them in a basket because they didn't pick cotton quick enough. Or he would bury babies in the ground and they would use their heads as footballs. And yet we're the savages. Yet we are the savages. That man killed more people than Hitler. But because it was Black lives, and that's why we say Black Lives Matter. Because clearly up to this point, we haven't felt, and it doesn't feel that we matter. Go ahead, Yabs.
Charlene Ifwa Apia says, talking about the white woman ignoring your dad, I tell you, some of us black people, especially from Ghana, get my goat. I used to buy makeup in Boots, and I would be giving a client a makeover, and the white person would demand I serve them at the tills. When I refused to, the clients would say, go ahead and serve them. Like, really? When a black person wanted to be served, they wouldn't allow that. We need to understand we are people first. We are people. First come, first serve.
1 second. I've just seen, for once I can actually see. Lele, yes. You need to go and check out Leopold II of Belgium. Go read that history. Go read it. Yeah, what I'm saying, if it was a movie, it would be a horror film. But yeah. Sorry, go on.
Esinedo says, Caribbeans have had their wake-up call. I think Brexit and the Windrush scandal has helped them realize that they are not superior to Africans. They are just black, full stop. Their delusion has turned into reality.
I'm not going to make this about Caribbean people. It's really about, I don't want to talk about any division amongst black people when it comes to the colorism and the tribalism and all of that. But yeah, I don't want to single any group of people out and to categorize everybody, because I do have Caribbean friends that don't think like that. And the same way with white people, when I'm making these comments and I'm saying of the observation that I've made of, you know, so I don't, this isn't to draw another group of division. It's really to try and say, look, let's just come to the table, because we are going to tidy up our own backyard. Believe me, we will do that. We will definitely start to clean our own backyard, most definitely.
Ese Emo Agege says, I work in the UK civil service, and last week my head of section called me to ask if I feel comfortable with him bringing up the George Floyd issue in our team meeting and talking about race issues. I said to him, why shouldn't I be comfortable with that? I said to him, as a matter of fact, I expected him to have brought this up earlier and not brushed it aside. He went on to say he doesn't see color in the team. I went on to school him that he should see color. Otherwise, how can he understand my struggle or challenges? I went on to explain my frustration on not being promoted for 16 years.
Wow.
Despite consistently good appraisals. A white colleague I trained is now 3 grades above me.
There you go.
I cannot ignore the fact that race comes into this. The UK civil service are always ready to recruit black and ethnic minorities, but when it comes to us wanting progress to senior management, it's like they've got their knees on our necks. You constantly have to prove you are good enough to progress.
Let me just stop you there. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this was, and what actually prompted me to do this was, there is this person who did a caption of George Floyd, but, you know, just kind of like twisted it around a bit and put our president as a person who had their knee on the neck of Ghanaian voters. It was absolutely deplorable, absolutely disgusting. And that's when I realized Africans do not understand racism, because something like that you would not politicize under any circumstances. And I looked at this person who is supposedly educated because he's a lawyer, but he a damn fool. It was not only was it in bad taste, it was insulting. For me, it had nothing to do with politics. It had everything to do with the fact that it was crass, it was disrespectful, it was dismissive, and it was diminishing. And that's when it really hit me that those of us who are in Africa don't have a goddamn clue. And it really made me think that, look, we have to speak about this and draw those parallels with tribalism and how one tribe thinks they're better than another just because of whatever reason they think they're better than the other. You know, I remember years ago, Igbo friend of mine, and the Yoruba friends that we had were always being quite disrespectful towards this person behind their back. But that's an example of tribalism. So yes, we are going to sort out our own backyard, i.e. Caribbean, African, Igbo, Yoruba, Ewe, Ashanti, whatever, Hausa. We will sort our own backyard. But today, let me give the space to our white counterparts so that we can have this conversation, you know? Sorry, go ahead, my dear.
Anita Agri says the Black Wall Street's brothers and sisters achieved greatness in trying to create a self-sufficient society for themselves. What happened? 5 people destroyed everything they had.
Thank
built.
you. Yeah. Yeah. Again, oh gosh, there's so much. There is so much, you know. But I did say an hour and a half. We've gone over. It looks like it's an hour and 45. I think there's been a lot of comments, right? So I don't think you were able to get through all of them.
I mean, I got through most of them.
Okay, so you'll have a biscuit then. I'll feed you today for being a good girl. But it was funny because last night I was just thinking about this, and I thought there has to be change at some point. You know, it just reminded me of this song. I was born by the river in a little tent, oh, and just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. I've been too hard living. And that's it. You'll have to sponsor my new CD. No, I'm joking, I'm not. But it just came to me, you know. Change. Yeah. If change is gonna come, that's up to me and you. Ain't nobody coming to do it for us. And, you know, in all honesty, it has been very emotional. I didn't realize how much I had compartmentalized some of the her and experiences. However, no more. If we don't change now, we will never change. If we don't change now, we will never change. So guys, I want to really thank you for watching this extended episode of Speak with Dilys. I'm very grateful. And I want to thank once again all those women, predominantly, who've been in my inbox, who I am blessed to call sisters, like Zoe Wilson, like Georgina. You know, these guys, I've had the most amazing conversations with these people, and I have the utmost respect for them. You know, my family is way too multicolored. You know about this, I don't see color bullshit. But, you know, as I was saying, my family is way too multicolored for me to be going there. I have a cousin who is, you know, half German. My son is mixed. My sister-in-law is from Sri Lanka. My niece is half French. Need I go on? So, yeah, we see color, and it's beautiful. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. You are amazing people. Do share this video if you enjoyed it. And I love you guys. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you to my faithful assistant who's looking really tired because she's had 2 hours worth of sleep because she was up baking cakes and didn't plan her time properly, and she shattered. But your darling Auntie Dilys will sit with you while you bake into the early hours today, as I always do. Don't I, Yaba? Don't I, Yaba?
Yes, you do.
See, I am nice when I want to be. Guys, have a lovely evening. God bless you, and thank you very, very much. And take care. Love you too, Nalintha. That's my sister-in-law. Take care. God bless. And my brother was on there, Danny and Nikki. So Nick, Danny, shout out to you, and my sister Jackie. God bless you guys. Take care, and bye-bye. Love you too, Anita. Take care, babe.
Yes, you do.
See, I am nice when I want to be. Guys, have a lovely evening. God bless you, and thank you very, very much. And take care. Love you too, Nalintha. That's my sister-in-law. Take care. God bless. And my brother was on there, Danny and Nikki. So Nick, Danny, shout out to you, and my sister Jackie. God bless you guys. Take care, and bye-bye. Love you too, Anita. Take care, babe.
Yes, you do.
See, I am nice when I want to be. Guys, have a lovely evening. God bless you, and
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to my girl Dilysilla. As you know, and as you see, MastrMynd will be bringing more programming for you. because black is beautiful, and you guys are beautiful. And this is to all my white, beautiful people too. I love you guys. Thank you. This is MastrMynd, making America great with the beautiful blackness of God's jewels. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.